Hey, Jacoby here. So, leaning a bit more into the art-themed content, I'm drawing 3 of my OCs in the jelly art style, which is something I don't typically do. I've tried the jelly art style a couple times. Apparently it's pretty difficult because of the semi-realism and line art, but because I actually used to do a lot of semi-realism and realism, I feel like I could be pretty good at this, and I think I was. So for my first OC that I tried with this art style, of course, I tried Maury. He is my go-to OC when drawing in new art styles, so I obviously started off with him. Now for this, I kind of based it off of how I draw my version of semi-realism, which is where I do the line art and then I add the block color over that, and I blend it in with a brush. I'll see if I can put the brush up on screen because I can't remember what it's called right now. But for this one, I think I drew the mouth too low down because I'm used to drawing the line, because I just draw the line for a lip because I have an anime art style. But for this, I had to take into account lips, and lips are typically very big on the jelly art style. So I definitely should have taken that into account for this first one. And so it made his face look very low down. I was originally going to draw a cat on his head because he has a cat and he loves cats. But I didn't end up doing it. I can't remember why. Maybe I forgot. I think I either forgot or I realized I wouldn't be able to do it because I was still figuring out how to draw like fur and hair on the jelly art style. But yeah, I think this one turned out all right given the fact that I wasn't really sure. It definitely didn't fully turn out until I added the gloss, because the jelly art style just really isn't the jelly art style without the little highlights. So it's a good thing that I remembered to add those. Okay, so for my next OC, I picked my persona. I haven't actually named this one yet. So yeah, I actually started off by drawing a quick sketch of what they look like without the mask, because I don't think you can really draw the jelly art style with a fabric mask. I'm not really sure how I'd go about doing that. So instead, I just drew him without it. So this art style, this character even here is a half cat, half Highland cow, half human hybrid. I guess we can't be half. But you know, here's a mix of all those, and for this one, I actually took into account the fact that I drew the face too low, and I drew his face a bit higher up. For all of these, I did use a symmetry tool because it was front-facing, and it would just be a bit easier, especially for a first-time thing. Basically, this persona, I'm just going to call him Chocopi, even though I have a Chocopi persona already, or character already. But for Chocopi, he was pretty simple since he's pretty much all the same color. He has white skin and white hair and white cat ears. He only really wears a red hoodie, sleeveless hoodie, but for him he was also somewhat difficult because it's hard to tell how to shade that when it comes to white, because it's hard to shade a white skin tone. But I managed to figure it out. I used kind of like a purpley color for skin and a light grey for hair, so you can kind of discern the difference. Since he isn't furry, he's just pale. So for him, I also forgot to add the waterline, which I added on my first one, which is also pretty prominent in a lot of jelly art styles. I think I did pretty good on this one as well. I don't know what commentary to give for this one. He was pretty straightforward. I pretty much did exactly the same thing with the first one, except I made his face higher. The last character, he's actually a character I haven't posted yet to my YouTube channel. This is Damien. Oh, my wrist clicked. This is Damien. I drew him today, actually, which is kind of bad. I was supposed to be taking a break from drawing today because I've been doing a lot of drawing lately and it's been hurting my wrist. My bad. But for Damien, he is my Demon Slayer OC. He is half demon, so I didn't use the symmetry tool for his eyes on this one. And actually I did something I haven't seen a lot in jelly art styles, which is where he actually has scars, or rather, you know what Master Obayashiki has? The veins on his face? That he kind of has that, Damien. So I did add those, which did take quite a while to figure out how to render, but I got it right in the end. And so for Damien, I actually kind of noticed something where in this art style, I saw a picture of the art style, and I realized that because I've been noticing this mistake I've had where the line art has kind of been mixing with the main colour and blurring all over the main base, and I didn't know how to get rid of that until I saw an image and I realised they were probably putting down the block layer, the main colour, and then adding the line art. So I actually did change that. So I did his base colour, then I added his line art. And that actually, I've noticed that gave a huge improvement. Though, since he has his scars, he kind of already has like the line art colour, because that's how I shaded the scars. But generally, I think I did pretty good, especially since I've never seen an Inhuman OC do the jelly art style. Obviously, I've seen like green characters or whatever, but I haven't seen one with a Inhuman appearance, like to the level of what their eyes look like, you know? So I actually think I did the best improvement on this one, especially given the fact that he's different to what I typically see in the jelly art style. He's, this is just my third attempt, and yeah, he's got a different hairstyle than I typically see. Honestly, I think his hairstyle was the easiest to do from all the art, with all the characters' hairstyles, because he has braids. They're like very dense and there's not a lot of shading going into it. So overall, I'd say if you're wanting to try the jelly art style, there's just a few steps you want to take. First, you want to make a base color layer. Shade that just a tiny bit. You don't have to use a lot of shading in the jelly art style. So just add what you need, like carve out the features, and then add an outline on the same layer. Otherwise, you want to make an overlay layer and then shade with white on the hair. That's how I got the hair to look right on the last drawing, Damien. If you want to add highlights, really all you do with the highlights is you get white, no blending layer, just get white and put it on the eyelids, eyes, and lips, and nose. You want to add like a little bit on the nose. And that's pretty much it as to what you do for the jelly art style. It's pretty quick and easy to do, especially if you're just doing like a front facing character like I did. Each piece of art only took maybe like an hour, a little over. And that's pretty quick. Generally, most of my art only takes like an hour or two to complete, but for realism, it takes quite a while, because usually when I do realism, it only takes like 40 minutes. But still, I'd say jelly art style is fairly easy, especially if you already know how stuff works. I think the reason it took a while for me to complete with this is because I was still kind of figuring out like the scars and, different aspects, especially given the fact that 2 of my OCs had horns, and I had to figure out how those would be shaded in the jelly art style. And I didn't really use a reference to them. For the first one, I definitely did. For the second one, so for the first one, I used someone else's art as a reference. For the other 2, I just used each previous piece of art as reference, and I just kind of learned off of those. So that's just kind of how art works. You just kind of learn off of your previous pieces of art, and that's how you get it done. And I think it's pretty good to experiment with art styles. You don't have to if you like your art style, or if you don't like a certain art style that people are trying to pressure you into trying. Like, I find that if you go to like school, they're gonna like encourage you to draw like realism. Obviously realism is very important for every kind of art style. Even people who draw anime art have to know about realism just to get it to look right. But if you don't want to draw in a certain art style to practice, you don't have to. Really, you can just experiment with any art style you want, but you should definitely reach outside of your comfort zone. You can't learn how to draw a hand if you never draw one. You can't learn how to draw a foot if you never draw one. You can't draw the other eye if you don't learn how to draw one. Like, you just have to keep practice different art styles, practice different shapes, analyze art. I know when people tell you to learn from other artists, that's kind of vague and you don't really know how to go off that. But what I do is I see a drawing, try to replicate the art style, and if I don't get it quite right, I go back to the piece of art and I analyze it a bit to see where I went wrong, what doesn't quite look right, and I fix it based on what I'm seeing. Now, I know a lot of jelly art styles, they use very pale characters, at least from what I've seen. They use pale characters, or they use very grey skin tones, and my characters just don't really have that, except for Chikopi. But other than that, I think I did pretty good, especially given the fact that I have pretty abnormal characters for the stereotypical jelly art style. And I think it's a good art style to give a shot if you want to get into realism. It's a good start, and I like it.